welcome to Wednesday. Fall is officially here. I'm cold, but enjoying my half-sweet pumpkin spice lattes. You are going to notice that in today's video, I shortened some words because the algorithm will punish me if I don't. It's stupid, but here we are. Also, today's video is mostly my opinion. I'm going to provide evidence on why my opinion is the way it is, but there's your disclaimer. What follows is my opinion. As usual, this is YouTube. So if you like the content, please engage with it by either liking the video, subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment, do whatever you want. I will ask again that we don't engage with the deranged outside of saying thank you. Their comments actually help the channel grow. In their March 2021 interview with Oprah, both Harry and Meghan alleged that there had been, quote, multiple conversations among the royal family about Archie's skin tone, including concerns about how dark he would be. They also alleged that Archie was denied a title and the security that comes along with it. Obviously a huge concern to his parents, who are facing an onslaught of hatred in the press. This would become the most explosive allegation from the interview, with Harry and Meghan refusing to name who had originally asked the question. Harry would later confirm privately with Oprah that it wasn't one of his grandparents, though we'll get to that in a minute. Of course, this allegation took off in the press, with the notion being that the first mixed-race prince of the British royal family was denied the title and the trappings due to, at least in part, his race. At a time where most large institutions are doing the utmost to at least appear more inclusive, and you would think specifically to the royal family, which continues to head the Commonwealth of Nations, the idea that a prince with 25% non-white genetic history would be, quote, too dark set off shockwaves, leading Prince William to awkwardly exclaim in response to a planted press question, "We are very much not an R-word family." So today, we're going to do a little hypothesizing. While Harry and Meghan have alluded to multiple conversations, there seems to be one that stands out, where Harry claims he was shocked in the moment. So who asked? Here we have our first contender, Prince Philip. I know, Harry said it wasn't either of his grandparents, but hear me out. Harry sometimes protects his grandparents when it really isn't deserved. Families are complicated. So, sorry Harry, I still have him in the running. Prince Philip is obviously the late husband of the Queen, and arguably the most, at least publicly, R-word person in the royal family, with such hits as asking a Kenyan, "You are a woman, aren't you?" Quote, "If you stay here much longer, you'll all be..." I can't even finish this one, but it ends with a disparaging remark about Asian people's eyes to a group of British students in China. Quote, "You can't have been here that long, you haven't got a potbelly," to a British citizen in Hungary. Quote, "How do you keep the natives off the booze long enough to pass the test?" to a Scottish driving instructor. Quote, "It looks as if it was put in by an Indian." Quote, "Still throwing spears?" Quote, "The Philippines must be half empty as you're all here running the NHS." Quote, "There's a lot of your family in tonight," to an Indian businessman at a palace reception. The list goes on and on. Now, of course, grandpa apologists will claim that these are all cutesy gaffes of a man who was born in a different time. Others, myself included, see these publicly recorded statements stretching almost his entire public life are evidence that this guy wasn't really down with folks that didn't look like him. Is it really out of the box to think that a man who asked a kid from Bangladesh if he was on drugs might have inquired about the skin tone of his newest great-grandchild? I don't think so. But, alas, in the end, I don't think it was him. Harry saying it wasn't him is a pretty big strike against my theory. Also, to be blunt, I think the family would have thrown him under the bus. They have pretty effectively excused his comments before. If it really was Philip, they would have used the sympathy surrounding his death to shame Harry and Meghan for bringing it up. So, yet another disclaimer here, I don't think Camilla is a good person. That being said, she is sometimes used as the royal punching bag in the press. Right now, if I Google who asked about Archie, Google will autofill Camilla, which I find pretty funny. Unlike her late father-in-law, I couldn't find any publicly recorded statements that are, at best, questionable. Like her late father-in-law, Clarence House has an atrocious history when it comes to hiring people of different races, and has some questionable art pieces. I find it interesting that the royal machine thinks that Harry has some grievances with her. For a while, there was headline after headline claiming Harry was going after her in his autobiography. Now, they don't know shit about his book, but obviously there is some kind of grievance, and it's been alluded that it's about Archie. Again, that's kind of hilarious, because the grievance that Harry has with Camilla is that she helped torture his mother. Unlike his brother, Harry has not taken the royal line. Well, I think Harry has put on a good face for the cameras, and I will add again that families are complicated. A book detailing the early part of his life very well might discuss Camilla and having to adjust to her and Charles getting married. And Harry is not on Charles's payroll, so he might be willing to say some things that those still on the royal leash would not. They want to gloss over the whole Diana thing so bad. Do I think it was Camilla? Honestly, I don't really know. I don't think so, pretty much for the same reason I have for Philip. I think the royal machine would have been happy to throw her under the bus. For a little while, Andrew and Anne were thrown around too. How much of a crap human being Andrew is has been endlessly recorded. He's a pompous, classist, narcissistic man who has been credibly accused of assault. He was so poorly behaved as a child that a royal footman hit him in the face. He has been accused of using the N-word, using disparaging remarks against, quote, Arabs. Do I think it's entirely possible he has made R-word comments about Meghan and Archie? Absolutely. It would be in character for him. Do I think Harry and Meghan were talking about Andrew in the interview? No. Why? Because in the context of the interview, Harry and Meghan seemed to be alluding to someone who had power over them, and I just don't think in 2018 Andrew did. Anne got roped into this conversation too by a self-titled royal reporter who likes to go on the morning shows and crap on Meghan. She claimed that Anne, quote, saw Meghan coming and that conversations were twisted. The problem is, this lady knows nothing about anything. She isn't a royal insider. She's a woman who was married to a guy with a title for approximately 45 minutes and now makes money by appearing on TV shows with the right opinion. I don't think it was Anne. Not because I think Anne is some great person, but because, again, like her brother Andrew, I don't think she had any power over Harry and Meghan. Also, can we just all collectively chuckle that not a single person has brought up Prince Edward? He's so irrelevant he can't even act as a scapegoat. Anyway, so everybody here knows that I don't think the Cambridges are, the best. Could it have been William? Mr. African should stop having babies. I have one black friend who I take photos with every 10-ish years, am visibly uncomfortable in photos with black people. William? Yeah. I have also always found it interesting that in the Oprah interview, Harry is willing to talk about how upset he is with Charles, but doesn't really want to talk about William. While some might argue that this shows that Harry's protecting William, I would argue it's actually the opposite. I think Harry's silence shows how upset he is with his only brother. William is my runner-up choice, to be honest, mostly from vibes. Out of all of Harry's family members, William was the most standoffish to Meghan in public. His anger is often talked about in the press, his incandescence. I don't think it's unreasonable to consider that he might have said something to Harry about Archie's skin tone. Do I think it was Charles? Yes. Here's why. Unlike his father, I cannot find any publicly available R-word comments, but again, like his parents, Clarence House and other residences Charles is in charge of have desperately low minority staff members. There are some questionable art pieces. A black former secretary alleged that she experienced R-word abuse while working at Highgrove by Charles's closest advisor, Michael Fawcett. Fawcett was then protected by Charles. The biggest reason I think it was Charles is that he had the most direct power over Harry and Meghan, along with their future children. It would be under his reign that titles for the kids would be doled out. Charles controlled their security funding. Harry and Meghan told us in the interview that these things are connected. While, of course, I can't be sure, no one really can until Harry and Meghan tell us who started these concerns and conversations, but I think Charles is the best bet. There was palpable excitement among communities of color when Meghan married into the royal family. An air that there would be change. Prince Charles walked her down the aisle. That quickly came shattering down when it became clear to everyone outside of the right-wing press cocoon that Meghan had absolutely not been accepted. Harry and Meghan confirming in their Oprah interview that the family had not only asked about Archie's skin color, but possibly used his mixed-race status against him, reverberated around the globe, further highlighting how little Britain has become in the wake of Brexit and running off the only diversity their royal family is probably ever going to have. All this over a baby who looks exactly like his father.